I know a lot of people now are looking at the lineup and who's going to be starting and who's going to be the second unit. And I was just talking to Jared and try to, see what he was looking to develop himself. And he took it as like, well, obviously I want to be starting. I want to be, a important part of the team. But particularly his skill set. What has, he been working on past week? What have you been working on with him to try to really, get him a solid role, try to get him really strong in the point guard position?
I think one of the things that Jared has to improve on is he's an excellent pick and roll player, number one. So that's his strength. That's what he really does. And what we're trying to get Jared to do is be able to manage the game and be able to get other players involved. One of the things with a point guard, having worked with Jason Kidd, was he always knew who needed a shot. He always knew how to engage somebody else. So whether they came back and got a rebound or whether they came back and played better on the defensive end. And so he managed the game that way. And I think that's where, as he continues to grow, he'll get better in that area. And I think that's where we're trying to get him to focus
What are some I know you don't like always to reveal how you help players develop, but what are some of the fundamentals that he has to work on in order to kind of build that up? Because point guard is someone who has to understand where everybody is on the floor and where everybody is going to be on the floor.
One of the things I think we try to do is just like a quarterback in football where you have reads, and he's going to check off here, he's going to look down the field. We're trying to do the same thing with Jared and talking to him about here's your first option on the play, here's your second option on the play, and then be able to look for guys ducking in, the big guys. So a lot of times point guards, when they first start out, they have theirs in mind in terms of getting to the rim. So how can we do this? We got to give them reads. We give them one at a time. First look, second look, third look, and now all of a sudden they can run that checklist in their mind, and then that way it makes easier decisions.
And how difficult is that? On the court for someone who,
Well, I think it's just a habit. We're trying to retrain guys in terms of where they need to be on the floor defensively. We're trying to make sure we always have somebody at the nail. We're always making sure we exchange on the weak side, we get a let me through. It's no different than that. We're training them to be at spots on the floor. We're going to train you to have looks on offense as well.
Coach Casey talked about the progress being made on the defensive end. In fact, you guys haven't had a chance to put in the zone yet. So I want to get your thoughts on exactly how the guys are picking it up and how you think they're taking it.
I think before we get to the zone, like I say, we got to build the foundation in terms of our man-to-man, because our zone, when you get down to it, is just like our man-to-man principles. We have very similar rules to it, but we felt that the foundation has to get built at the man-to-man defensive end of the floor before we move on to that zone. Once we get those concepts down, then we can implement the zone, and we'll do it stage by stage, step by step, so that, again, there's no indecisions or no confusion in terms of coverages. Our zone's different. The zone that Coach Casey's talking about, I was with Coach in Dallas. One of the things that we do is we have specific rules. Most zones are just put your hands up and guard an area. You're actually guarding a man. So it's a matchup zone. It's a lot different than most zones that are being taught today.
And, I know you guys finally got a chance to see your group actually play some full court basketball. What are your impressions of the scrimmages?
I was really, it's great all of a sudden to see the transfer. We do a lot of drill work, and now we got to start putting it together. So impressed with the effort, impressed with the hustle at the defensive end where we're covering for one another. One of the things we have to do is build in a scramble mentality whereby if a play breaks down, there's no hesitation. We're going to fire out. We're going to get to the next man. We're going to close out. We're going to trust that our teammates behind us are going to be there to help us, and so it's a team defensive concept as opposed to an individual concept.
Coach, one of the biggest things in terms of defense is communication. How have these guys been able to communicate, especially in those scramble situations where guys have to tell and really direct traffic to make sure they're not guarding the same person at times?
Well, when you started out the first day here in camp, the coaches, we had no voice left because we were the ones talking. So one of the things that we've tried to do is encourage them on every play. And part of that comes into the understanding of a lot of guys sometimes are afraid to say something because they're going to say the wrong thing. So as they get better at the concepts and being able to know our terminology, whether it's a base go, whether it's a mine on a closeout, simple words like that, what that does, that communication, again, gets back to that trust factor. We build trust. We build trust in our defense. We build trust in the fact that we're going to cover for one another. So we've gotten to the point where coaches now are trying to back off in terms of how much we talk. And we're going to let them, and we're finding out that we're getting that element done. That's coming. And so we got to keep on it every day. We've got to demand it. Coach Casey's been fabulous at demanding that aspect of it. All right? So I think it's just a day-by-day process.
And how much have you seen in terms of what you guys tried to implement in terms of on-the-ball defense? You find that a lot of teams build their defense based on rotations, help directing people in a certain lane. but on-the-ball defense is somewhat of a lost art from a defensive perspective.
Well, we've really tried to address that, and one of the basic fundamentals of our defense is our stance. And we started day one, the very first drill we did was in our stance. And NBA defenses, a lot of teams have gotten to the point where they force baseline. Well, that goes back to being able to give a straight line drive because guys start adjusting their feet and they get more and more and more. And we're building our defense on the fact that we're going to square you up. We're going to play you head up. We're going to be able to slide with the step. That our first step is an aggressive step as opposed to a retreat step. And now we can level off those penetrating drives, and we got help behind. So it's all based on the stance. We've got to come out and square you up and be able to guard your yard, which is a term we use with our guy every day. Guard a yard in either direction. That's what you have to do.